Amy Poehler's new show, Difficult People, is getting a lot of criticism for a joke aimed at Blue Ivy, the child of Beyonce and Jay Z. Now, the joke was told by one of the characters on the show, Julie Klausner, and I want to give you context before I tell you what the joke is. Apparently, Julie Klausner tweeted something, the joke in question, and got a lot of criticism for it on the show. So she was talking to a co-star about it and was like, oh my God, this joke is getting a lot of hate on Twitter. And so the co-star asks her, well, what's the issue? And Julie Klausner, who plays the character, basically said the joke, I can't wait for Blue Ivy to be an 18-year-old so R. Kelly can piss on her.
So Blue Ivy, for the people who are not pop literate, is Jay Z and Beyonce's daughter.
Yes.
Okay. And she's tiny.
She's 3 years old.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. So now people are mad about this. I can't quite figure out what they're mad about.
So I understand if it was in a different context, I understand the anger about it, because as a comedian, you're supposed to punch up, not punch down. Mm-hmm. And so making these kinds of jokes about a 3-year-old is in poor taste, to say the least, right? But in the context of the show, her joke was supposed to be offensive, right? Mm-hmm. Because it was written in a way that she's getting criticism and she's getting crap for a terrible joke that she wrote on Twitter. So in that context, I mean, I don't know if it makes sense for them to have like a lukewarm joke that's not controversial. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, look, it is a piss poor joke, if you will.
Yeah.
Because R. Kelly didn't wait for them to be 18 years old. And so none of it makes any sense, right? But I hate the joke analyzing business. Now we're micromanaging every goddamn joke of every comedian there is. And so I can't figure out if it's people who are offended because it's about a 3-year-old. I can't figure out if it's people who are offended because racial issues.
So let me give you some of the criticism that I've read on Twitter. So one person writes, I understand comedy is supposed to be without limits, blah, 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 but what is the humor in a pedophile pissing on a toddler? Another person writes, a joke about R. Kelly assaulting Blue Ivy is not a joke targeting him. It's making light of what he did and punching down at his victims.
Yeah, but Amy Poehler and the crew, whoever wrote the joke, they say she's intimately involved in approving the script, so it's her fault too. It's not like they're like, yeah, let's go piss on little kids. It's a joke because that's so obviously over the top. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, here we go again, explaining jokes. That's why it's funny, because it's over the top. Now, in this case, it's not that funny.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, in this case, it's not funny at all, even in the context of the show where she's supposed to be making a controversial joke. I mean, I would have gone in a different direction, and I understand the criticism that, the show's getting as a result of that. But given the context, the joke was supposed to be controversial. I just wish they went in a different direction.
Yeah, look, JR, I'm curious what you think about this, but I'm at 100% not guilty. I just think we've gone too far in analyzing every comedian's every joke.
I've always been on the line of comedians don't get free passes just because they're comedians. I don't know. If you're a mechanic, do you get to leave some screws loose on my car? Just because you can? No, it doesn't mean you get to do anything you want. But I don't know. So if you do, I'm not saying you can't try, but if you try and it falls apart, that's the risk of being a comedian, right? And pushing boundaries. That's why everybody can't do it. So people get to say, what the fuck was that? Mm-hmm. And you have to deal with it. That's all there's to it. I mean, so I don't know. I talked about this earlier. Comedians are the most sensitive people in the world, but they can punch the shit out of you with everything they say. Well, I was just pushing boundaries. How dare you say I'm a piece of shit? Like, what are you crying for? I thought you were a laughing guy.
Yeah.
Come on, funny man, make other jokes.
I agree with JR on that front. I mean, comedians are definitely the most sensitive people that I've ever met in my entire life. And they don't like the criticism. They don't like to be talked down on. But oftentimes they talk down on other people. And the thing is, it's okay when the joke is about someone who's in power. It's not okay when you're attacking people who have no power. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, look, I hear you guys. And I've known people who brag about being truth tellers in my own life. And they're like, they looked at a picture of some guy I knew, said, why are all your daughters ugly? I'm just a truth teller. I'm just a truth teller. And then you prick that guy a little bit. And I remember someone I know then criticized him for a tiny little thing. He had to go meditate. He was so offended and he couldn't believe it. And so, no, I get it. And comedians, yes, they love to talk shit about people. That's their job, right? And then you criticize them. They're like, whoa, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you grabbing me? Why are you grabbing me? So I hear you guys on all that. And JR, actually, better than a mechanic, as you were talking, I realized, you know, cops always say, we got a risky job. That's why we can't take any risks. So it's kind of like comedians. I got a risky job here. You know, you got to give me some room. Well, okay, then this is part of the risk. So I hear you all on all that. Nonetheless, let them make the fucking jokes. Like, because now there's going to be no jokes because they're all worried that their careers are going to be ruined. And oh my God, can I joke about not a 3-year-old, but a 5-year-old? But what if the 3-year-old was white or Asian? Is a 7-year-old okay?
No.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, make your jokes. But I hear what JR is saying. Make your jokes, but understand that sometimes your jokes are going to suck and people are going to be upset about them and you're going to get criticism. And that's what's happening right now.
All right, I got a deal for all you guys, okay? Mm-hmm. Okay, if the comedian comes out and goes, yeah, sorry, man, that one sucked. Let's move on. Do you guys say, okay, that one sucked, let's move on?
Yeah, totally. I think that's okay. I don't know.
It's part of what I was saying also earlier. I was like, well, you know, if you come out and say like, you know, I figured if you actually listen, and then say, oh, you know, maybe that one kind of fell flat. I didn't see how that could come across. I apologize. Instead of going, how dare you say I'm a this or that? You can say I'm not those things. At least I don't think I am. Maybe I should look at myself and I've analyzed it. Maybe I'm not. Let's move on. Or just you have to at least to not acknowledge when someone has an issue. Kind of says you're better than them and you're smarter than them and all that. I mean, you can't tell some Nazi jokes. You can't tell jokes about the kids that Jared Fogle just abused. You can't do it.
Too soon.
Sucks.
Yeah, and you shouldn't punch down. Again, I feel like that's just a general rule.
Yeah, I hear you guys. We couldn't come to an exact negotiated solution here. I'm sticking with no apology, but just say, yeah, that joke sucked. Let's move on.